In this video, I'm going to be going over the main menu and the video options. So, the main menu consists of very limiting but essential buttons. Play, being play game. Let's go back to the main menu. Statistics, the credits, and video options. So, exit game does work on a full build, but as it's the editor, you can't exit the editor. So, the options. The display mode, window to full screen. You got different resolutions. There's multiple resolutions here because in the editor, Unity returns every resolution it can handle, so you can use it for testing. Such is the case here. The reason there's duplicates is because off the side here, in the code, the resolution is 3 variables, which is height, width, and refresh rate. So as we only show the height and width here, the refresh rate is usually something like 30, 59, and 60, depending on the monitors and how fast they can refresh the screen. The quality is using Unity's inbuilt quality system, and the FOV is just for the field of view of the camera behind the player. So, the options. So the main menu, let's start in the main menu, let's not get ahead of ourselves. A few buttons. This is for the play and the quit. So these are the 2 buttons in the main menu which have big effects, which cannot be kind of isolated to their own panel, but rather these affect the whole UI and the application. So load scene, it loads a different scene, and the quit, well, it quits the game. You'll see where I'm going with this when I go into the other options. But when we're awake, what we do is we just get all the sub-menus like we saw in the previous video, and just turn them off so we can play around with the UI, hit play, and it goes back to how it would be if we released the game. If we started up the game, we have it like we would. And when it starts, what we do here, in this part we kind of had to get ahead of ourselves for a certain reason. So, here, well, in the options UI, let's go into here. In here, there's a script which kind of parents over everything else to kind of act as a central hub in terms of variables and also running methods. So the options UI is on the panel, and then you've got the individual parts here. So with certain things like the FOV, the screen resolution, the display mode, we want the fields to be populated when we first click on it. But in the inspector, it works fine. In the editor, no issues at all. But on the build, there were issues where there were issues where the fields were not being populated when the panel was activated. So what this does is it kind of preemptively gets the options, finds all the display settings, and forces them to... Oh, no, sorry. And it adds them to a global list a bit early on. This is fine, because we need these references from when the option UI is then activated. Because before, when this was activated, it would try to do this. It tried to update all the text to be populated, but at that point, as awake in the Unity engine runs before start, so it tries to update all the text, but there is no text to update because the references have not been linked over to this global list here that has every display setting in terms of video options. So this is the options UI. This is what handles all of the options UI. It's not much more to say. Okay, you saw a few public methods: save settings, discard settings, and update all text. Okay, update all text is called twice. This doesn't need to be public. But what this does, it just gets, like with the iDamageable, we use another interface called iDisplay settings. So what this does is any script that inherits from iDisplay settings needs a method called update text. So this is a very good way to force text to be updated across multiple scripts without the need of them having to be inherited from a parent script. It allows a lot more flexibility, but also if we decide we don't want this to be part of this list, we don't have to make it part of this list. It's a lot more flexible to work around, but also the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. Which, to be honest, there isn't really many disadvantages. It might be a bit of a pain to first understand how they work, but once you know how they work, they're very convenient. Sorry, let's move this over here for later. So every video option script or element, so like this is the textual quality part, all kind of follow the same principle, which is they have the text which displays it, and when the script starts, it gets the text and updates it with what the true value is. And then there's one type of public reference for the inspector to cling onto. So in this case, it's the textual quality. So these are two buttons which call this method. The reason I only made one method instead of two is because I can specify a direction in which specifies which button was pressed. So if the direction is, so we hit the left arrow, we know that's -1 because we're going back in the index, or if we go +1, we know we're going forward in the index. And the texture quality is saved as an enum. One enum that I made. It's just a nice, easy way to keep track of what's going on. And then, dependent on that enum, we can then specify what type of texture quality we want. Same goes with screen resolution. This one's a bit more complicated for a reason I will be talking about in the next video. It has to do with about serialization, saving settings to a file. But it's essentially the same thing as the last one. There's a button, two buttons, you specify which way in the index it's going, and then you change things based on the direction and what it's landed on. Again, update text. So if we save or if we revert, we can force everything to update to how it was. Same with the field of view and the same with the full screen. So, video options. This is almost like another central hub, but this is for saving the settings rather than communicating with other components. So this handles saving and loading. So everything in here is to do with the video options. Also, like before, there's a static instance of this. This is for a very specific reason, which is so we don't have to keep on loading in the same file over and over and over again. We can just see if it's the same, then return the same one. So what this looks like in action. So if we go options, we keep on clicking. So in the display mode, we got the left arrow and right arrow. As there's only two options which the windowed mode can be, which is true or false, don't have to specify the direction, because regardless of which button you press, it's always going to flip to the other one. So now with screen resolution, as you can see here in the bottom right, it says change resolution. This field here is related to this parameter here. So what we're putting in the bottom right here is what is being pushed in here. So we know the left arrow is going to be going back in the index, and the right arrow is going to be going forward in the index. Same with quality and FOV. So the options, the main central hub for all the components, also deals with the back and the save. They're not very brilliant in terms of what they do. They just set certain objects to be active and unactive, and then we just either discard or apply settings based on if you hit save or if you hit back. So that's it for this video. The next video I'm going to be going over about saving stats to files, but also video options to files, and just general game I/O, as I'm going to call it.